Welcome back, everybody. Next up is Mike Brouillard. He's the partner and founder of MBC Consulting, which he founded in 2000. MBC serves a range of manufacturing and services clients selling to multiple retail channels. Mike has a lot of senior experience in manufacturing and sales and marketing with positions at International Home Foods, the Red Wing Company, Thomas J. Lipton, and Borden Foods. Michael, welcome.
Thank you, Sheldon, and good afternoon to everyone. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to the group and just to give a little bit more background about why I was selected to participate. My consulting activity is facilitating share groups in the consumer product goods industry. We have share groups in 24 different areas, all within manufacturing and marketing with brick and mortar companies. What a share group does is it meets twice a year, does benchmarking, best practices, information, and resource sharing, and also gets engaged in benchmarking surveys and industry news sharing throughout the year. So we serve as a hub to 140 manufacturing companies and about 1,100 different people within the industry. And I'm pleased to be here and to help you and answer Sheldon's questions about supply chain and consumer activity in the grocery industry. Go ahead, Sheldon.
Okay, so one of the things that we've, obviously this is a whole new world that we're in now. And what changes are you seeing in consumer behavior?
The changes are still evolving and they're actually being overtracked. So there will be some, thinning out of activities, but primarily fewer shopping trips and stocking up, more planning versus impulse, a lot of things being done outside the store, and the retailers and the marketers will not see the type of impulse purchasing they've seen in the past without changing some of their marketing plans, and part of that is becoming more automated. Online order and curbside pickups also mean less time in store and less impulse purchasing. The same with reduced sampling, bulk items, self-service offerings that you have in stores like salad bars and such. Those will be going away near term, long term. Some of the items that consumers will be focusing on in store more or less than they have in the past. Long-lasting produce, so you're talking about your potatoes and those types of products versus fruits and greens, and also looking at frozen and canned goods replacing a lot of the fresh items. Alternate protein considerations are coming into play. You've seen the news with meat,
Beyond Meat, those kind of products,
and that should continue. At the same time, consumers may not want to go into some of the larger store formats where they're going to be coming across a lot more consumers and a lot more in-store workers. So there is a thought process that the convenience store channel, what we call the limited assortment store channel, which is Aldi, Save-A-Lot, and Lidl, as well as discounted dollar stores, which are smaller footprints and less traffic, will become more popular when a consumer actually wants to go into a store. Some of the attributes that consumers are going to be focusing on in activities or in product needs, more disinfect and protect. We're doing that now. That will continue. The consumer most likely will make that a habit, like waking up in the morning and having coffee. Also, cabin fever, whether it's increasing home entertainment, which could be consumables, spirits, snacks, desserts, etc., or it could be products such as home entertainment and such, electronics and things like that. Pimping the home office. So in my office now, I have an exercise bicycle and I have a Pilates chair. Other consumers are going to be putting different things in their office, whether it be enhanced equipment or some convenience / entertainment exercise options. So you'll see more of that happening. Insourcing term that I'm using, kitchen and food prep DIY. We're used to going to Lowe's and Home Depot for DIY. Now there's going to be DIY in the kitchen. Instead of getting some baked goods and some other products that you would normally buy finished, there'll be more of that being generated in home. A lot of shelf-stable baking product sales have doubled over the last 2 months as a function of that. Another term that's out there, power nesting, so enhancing your outdoor space, whether that be furniture or related items, and also in-home. Those are going to continue to happen as people are just staying inside their space and trying to enhance it as they go through social distancing and quarantining and whatever the case may be. And lastly would be home fitness equipment as well as activity apps. So that's 13 different items that I mentioned, not a lucky number, but the number that we're playing with at this point. And the challenge now is for marketers and retailers to understand how their products, how their formats are going to evolve and fit to take advantage of these consumer trends so that they can keep business, gain business, and defend themselves against alternative channels and products.
So it's a combination of change in marketing approach as well as changing the assortment and the packaging to meet this new reality.
Correct. Combine what's happening now with the recession coming into play, larger packs for value, smaller packs. There's a theory that you walk into a dollar store with $19 in your pocket if you're the primary consumer. You walk into a Walmart Supercenter with $33 in your pocket. We're talking cash or a debit card. And how long and how far can that money take you? So you may be buying trial size health and beauty care because you can't afford full size, or you may be buying cost-effective proteins and starches to feed your family. So those are some of the challenges that product mix and store layout and how to draw consumers in is going to matter over the next year and change.
Very good. How flexible is the supply chain? What are the weak links and how can producers protect themselves?
Companies or CPGs as well as retailers are always looking at their supply chain and trying to optimize it and take cost out and get products in the consumer's hands as fast as possible. With that said, the current C-19 has put even more pressure on that. And a lot of the need to optimize your network is a function of having, again, the right product at the right place. What never was really taken into account was if your workers are not going to be able to provide the services that they provide, if you're having issues and your facility has to close or you're working at half staff because of issues. So the need to diversify primarily warehousing and distribution will come into play much faster using 3PLs and other services. So you have products in different places without, in the country, closer to the customer, closer to the consumer. The longer term challenge is to diversify your manufacturing. There's a lot of brick and mortar and steel that are in place, and manufacturers are going to have a challenge, as you've seen with the meat industry, to try to offset any lost production because of virus issues or other issues. This could also be related to hurricane season, where companies in the Southeast are continually challenged if that's their only source of manufacturing. So in the longer term, there's going to be some manufacturing diversification or the use of co-packers, companies that are outside of your geographic area that you have as current or backups to manufacture for you. The need to automate and to have systems in place, so that you can communicate better with your 3PLs, with your diverse warehouse network, to know where product is and where it's going, to understand how you're satisfying your customer supply chain needs is going to be critical. So that's an opportunity unless companies can become more automated, which is a function of potentially employees not being available to work, or to be faster, better, smarter in getting their products into the marketplace. Those are all things that are coming into play now. I'm being told by my finance, my executive, and my supply chain share groups that they are looking at cost-effective, automation to help, with this type of transition.
So there's a sense to shrink it, try to shorten the supply chain, for lack of a better term?
I don't know if it's so much shorten it as to make it more nimble, diverse, and automated. The challenge in this industry is similar to, or dissimilar to, possibly some of the other industries that you work in is that the paper thin margins that retailers operate against is, they make it up on volume, so to speak, or real estate.
Right.
And on the manufacturer side, some categories are very profitable, but others, especially in private label, which is a growing arena, those profit margins are somewhat thin. So they're reluctant to invest in technology unless they know it's a sure thing and a proven winner. It's hard to get early bleeders, so to speak, in the grocery industry or in CPG on technology. So proven technology in other industries, if it can be applied in a cost-effective way, has an opportunity in the grocery industry.
Very good, thank you. What are the challenges your customers are facing specifically this quarter, and how are they solving some of those challenges?
I'll talk about the challenges first, and I have concepts versus solutions because companies are still working through this. There hasn't been a lot of time to be forward thinkers. In the share group meetings we've had recently, supply chain, demand and supply planning, and some of the sales share groups, they're very focused on getting through the next few months. And conceptually, they have ideas in the back of their mind longer term. But right now, it's let's get product into the stores or through e-commerce, whatever the venue is, as best as possible. But the key challenges right now is forecast accuracy. There is hoarding and there's pantry loading, and there's the transition from food service products to retail products. And so it's very challenging to understand, how the consumer is going to react if things settle down and there's more openings, in certain states or in certain markets. And is that going to relax consumers? What I just said in the 13 consumer insights, implies that there's still going to be some level of stress, and consumers are going to be focused on core products and the things that I mentioned before. So forecasting against that is probably the major challenge. Secondly, combining production needs along with and distribution needs along with employee safety, and actually trading partner safety. If you're in the transportation industry, to make sure the truckers that are bringing the products from point A to point B are also safe. That's the challenge. Everyone wants the economy to open as quickly as possible, but at the same time, you don't want your family member, getting the virus. So, there's that combination of balancing, economic recovery along with employee associate safety, which is happening right now. And then, if you lay on top of that the potential for the recession, which has claimed, it's claimed that the recession is in play now statistically, but how long will that last? The economy can recover quickly if things open up a little faster and there's more testing and vaccines and controls in the future, but that's too early to tell. So that's why I mentioned these are the stress points that the companies I'm dealing with are working against. The near-term solutions, again, improving processes, improving automation, and creating some diversity in their supply chain so they're more nimble, and also adjusting their product and customer mix. Which customers are going to come out of this, to be better providers to retailers? Is that going to be Amazon? Is it going to be Walmart? Is it going to be Aldi or Target? Is it not going to be the food service channel? Is it going to be convenience stores? Should 7-Eleven become your new best partner? Those are things that everyone's thinking about. And also, thinning out their product mix. There may not be as much opportunity for organics and natural products and specialty products as consumers focus on staples and making sure that their pantry is safe and fulfilled.
Fascinating stuff. So there are some changes that are going to affect the SOP, standard operating procedure, that are going to become permanent simply because, like you said, like you brought up about the salad bar, the buffet. These things are just going to become a thing of the past. They'll ever come back?
I'm going to say I don't know, and that doesn't sound like a professional answer.
No, I agree.
I think if they do come back, it's going to be limited, and some of these fresh offerings were already making health and safety mistakes in the past. There's no reason to think that consumers and retailers and manufacturers aren't going to be any smarter than they were. So I think it's going to be a slow recovery. And I don't know if that's so critical to, a retailer or a recovering restaurant purveyor, adjusting how they go to market and getting away from that and creating a new normal that consumers are going to expect as far as a restaurant experience or an in-store experience. People will adapt quickly. They'll look forward to seeing new products and new ways of marketing things and understanding how they can get things on e-commerce, and that may dissipate their disappointment in not being able to buy things in bulk or more fresh. The time will tell how the consumer will adapt to that. And like I said, everyone is short-term thinking. When you do this event again 6 months or a year from now, it'll be more precise as far as what the follow-up will be.
Yeah, thank you. Any feel for where future growth can be found? And obviously, there's a big shift over to e-com. Particular lessons, for lack of a better term, you're seeing from the e-commerce side?
Well, the challenge in e-commerce is that Amazon is a difficult partner, to work with. They have very challenging expectations and systems, and a lot of companies are frustrated in trying to go to market with them. With that said, they still will continue to try, and there's a cottage industry, more than a cottage industry, of third parties that have put themselves as an intermediary to help you be effective at Amazon and possibly Alibaba down the road. The interesting thing is to see is that the omni-channel or retailers that have a strong .com presence, their sales in the March-April period are up anywhere from 300 to 400% through .com. Their overall sales can be anywhere from 50 to 75% up as they're taking business away from smaller retailers that aren't as nimble with their .com offering, and as well as the restaurant industry. Costco, which was initially reluctant to dive into .com, is going as fast as they can. You see that the major retailers like a Kroger and a Publix and a Target and Walmart have already been very active in that and are doing more and more with that. Instacart has been a good resource for retailers to use to get products to the curb, for consumers to pick up.
Right.
That's the trend. And as I mentioned before, the smaller store formats, Aldi and the dollar channels, Dollar General and the combination of Family Dollar and Dollar Tree, they've been growing exponentially, new stores, expanding their product mix, et cetera. So that will continue to go continue to grow as we go into the future. I think the convenience stores will become more prevalent, going beyond cigarettes and lottery tickets, which is the old school thinking. They're now becoming more relevant as far as the product offerings they'll include and becoming a more fast and convenient venue. So I think the challenge is going to be for the mid-tier traditional retailers to play against the larger companies that have more resources, and also to be as nimble as some of the smaller stores that can react more to consumer needs, or that are a faster in and out experience, that consumers seem to want to take advantage of right now. Yeah. So the transition to e-commerce will also affect, item offerings. Amazon only wants to sell and ship items that are over $10, and you think of all the items you buy in a grocery store that are less than that. So as far as creating, multi-packs and mixed packs and coming up with packaging that is more environmentally friendly and can be recycled more efficiently, those are all things that are going to be challenging to the e-com arena. Right now, people aren't concerned so much about recyclability and such. They want the products put in their hands and in their pantries, but a feeling or a wave will come back to that is my perspective. So there will have to be a balance of that in the long term, and that hopefully can take costs out of the system too.
So I have one last question for you. How long will it take for the institutional food market to rebound?
My sense is it's not going to be the same for the foreseeable future, and that could be 3 to 5 years. There could be a vaccine. That's all guesswork. So there will be a vaccine. Let's say there will be a vaccine, but there has been predictions that pandemics can come or other disasters that will affect us. So I believe the consumer is going to be somewhat shy about getting back into that traditional experience. So restaurants will have to adopt. I read a Bloomberg report today that talked about the fast and casual restaurants are in a better position to recover, to do the drive-through, the curbside pickup. Restaurants in better weather areas will be able to react more quickly to have outdoor dining and spacing. Right now, one of the largest customers for food service purveyor would be FEMA and food banks and institutional mass feeding customers. That's what they're looking at now, through the end of this calendar year. So, for the restaurant industry to get back in shape, it's really going to take, a lot of thought. People aren't going to want to eat in a bubble. Do they want to have someone wait on them with a mask on, et cetera? So it's going to be interesting how long it takes. The hit that the food service distributors have taken, as well as the companies focused on food service, is anywhere from 50 to 75%, of their base volume. So that's a real shock. You look at schools not being open and such, where there's a lot of food service products that go in that direction. So there's going to have to be a change, and you may also see that what we call home meal replacement or meal kits and those types of products will be what is sold through the system versus having cafeterias and mass feedings and kitchens set up. Wow. So some of the product could be pre-prepared in a safer environment with less handling, and then made available to the consumers, which may not have the quality and the experience that you want, but it may be safe and at least a variation to what you're experiencing at home.
Very interesting. I was actually quite surprised myself to discover that institutional food represents 60% of the food, represented 60% of all the food, each food dollar spent in America, which is an unbelievable concept. And obviously now that whole market had disappeared for a month or 6 weeks or whatever this has been, you can see the torture, for lack of a better term, for the producers to actually repackage and get their, full the places where people are shopping for food, as well as to feed the food banks, etc., and those channels, which hopefully we won't need too long, but I'm sure they'll be with us for a while. You said the end of the year, that would be
right. And retailers are going to take advantage of this because they have the consumer now. A retailer will, if they're clever, will align, with a chain restaurant, whether it be a regional chain or a national chain that's popular in their area, and they may enable the consumer to pick up that restaurant's products at their store. So that keeps the consumer coming to the grocery store. It keeps the food service or the restaurant's kitchen open. So in Chicago, you may have some of the famous pizza chains that are there, making their pizzas and then selling them, like the Luminata pizza, selling through Jewel grocery stores and having them available, for pickup based on appointment. So you may see the growth of the restaurant food continuing, but it may be distributed, in a way that's different than it ever has been before. The grocery stores will figure out how to keep that consumer there by offering better, restaurant quality food, whether it be, sushi or, better dessert items, and creating, menus for consumers to take advantage of on, for certain holidays or certain times of the year. So it'll be interesting if the restaurants can recover when the retailers have the strength.
Thank you very much, Mike.